All right, so today we're going to be talking about Gen Z. And so this morning I found an article on Yahoo News about how Gen Z is taking quiet vacations and the consequences of workplace cheating. For me, the workplace cheating is just what work's about. It's about resentment, it's about mistrust, it's about reduced productivity among coworkers. I've seen it all at my job. I look at my coworkers that I have known for years now, and I don't see the same people anymore. I see people that are looking for other jobs. I see people who are no longer motivated to do anything right. I see people who don't want to be there. I'm seeing in a corporation all of the behavior that I've seen among workers who are working in low end retail jobs. And this is among alleged professionals, right? But again, as I keep saying, what I currently make was good money in the year 2000. In the year 2025, this is no longer good money. This isn't even enough to support basic living. I'm I would say one stage away from having to live in a tent or my car is this apartment. In fact, I was just talking to one of the Kroger's girls who lives across the parking lot from me. And she was telling me she has to kill so many roaches that I have little brown stains all over my walls where I killed them and then I just don't clean it because I don't care. And that's the attitude that employees have, especially among Gen Z, because they're the lowest wage earners in our society. Because with age comes low wages. That's why every time I've heard that no one should be working at McDonald's unless they're in high school, go look at any retail place. They're full of people in their 30s making minimum wage. We're very close to it. If you're making $20 an hour, in my opinion, you're making minimum wage because it's not enough to support life on. $800 a week is not keeping you alive. So, with this said, I have a couple of talking points. Unfortunately, I had so much to talk about that I was only able to highlight two of my talking points. So, we're going to start with the first one. Quiet vacations, a system of burnout culture. Quiet vacationing isn't lazy, but a coping mechanism for the overwhelming workplace demands. Now, what a quiet vacation is not coming into work but still punching in the clock. And I assure you, anyone at my job that gets caught quiet vacationing is not going to have a job the next day. In fact, if you don't show up for more than 3 days and you don't tell your boss where you are, if you don't have a doctor's note after 3 days and not showing up, automatic termination at my corporation. And I actually heard someone talking to HR over this because people have had to quit because their parents get sick, their children get sick, but the corporation doesn't care. I've seen them fire someone because they needed to take more time off because their mother was crossing over and the corporation said no. And so you had the choice of sitting in your office while someone very important to you is not going to make it, and the last moments that you're going to be on this earth with a chance to see that person are going to be spent with resentment in your heart. This is why when Assassin's Creed did what he did a couple months ago now, people were ready. People are fed up. In one of the videos that I'll probably do tomorrow morning, the pre revolution mentality in America is getting there because we're realizing very quickly that this world wasn't built for people like us. This world only caters to one type of individual, and that's the exploiter. And if you're not willing to do something against the exploiter, then you're complacent. Then you are enabling those people to treat you like absolute garbage. Because what do I keep saying? You pretend to pay me, I pretend to work. Corporations do not like people who think this way. They want loyal little robots who show up at work and that aren't mistrusting, that aren't reducing their productivity, and that aren't resentful. Because we live in a society where there is a lot of resentment towards corporations and anyone that's involved in policy making. Because this world needs a massive change. Profits before people, never. People before profits, that's what I'm thinking. Because when you put people last, it gives you the ability to treat them like they don't matter. Why are there no more homeless shelters being built? Why did they take away all of the mental health facilities? Why do we have people yelling in the streets? Because they have nowhere to go. Like every time I put gas in my car at the Kroger on Rural and Southern, there's always some guy at that corner screaming for no reason. People are angry. These people need help. All the resources are right there, except you see no value in helping people who have who society's given up on. Believe me, if you become homeless right now and you don't have anyone that's going to help you, you're going to figure out real quick what it feels like when society doesn't want you around. You become invisible. There are no great programs. There's nothing to help you come back to a society in which you can go to work again. But the problem with society and the way that it is right now is it's basically become a prison system, right? I say this all the time. It's an open air prison is what America is. And you have an uncanny relationship with that system. The cycle of homelessness is a constant one. If you don't have the resources to not fall into homelessness, you will continue to fall into it in a pattern. For me, it's been almost, I would say every 2 to 3 years, I end up on the street for the same reason I've ended up on the street every single time. I don't make enough money. That's really what it comes down to. You're not making enough money. You have no family. You have no friends. You have no one that cares about you. You end up on the street. It's easy. It's not a hard thing to do. In fact, the first couple of times that I became homeless, I couldn't believe it was happening to me. But I knew that the system had built this right into itself. The system is cruel. The system is uncaring, and the system is constantly forcing you into a situation in which you don't know what to do. Quiet vacationing is a symptom of a system that doesn't like human beings. It absolutely dislikes people. But guess what? It needs people in order to function until they manage to create an artificial intelligence that is capable of doing every single job, regardless of how menial it is. Human beings still are going to somehow, kind of like the gas car, right? We know that the gas car within our lifetime is no longer going to be something that we have. And it's just kind of like everything else that's come to a dead end. Phones inside of people's homes, residential homes. Why would you? I haven't had a phone in, what, 20 years inside my house? Newspapers, the mainstream media. CNN is struggling to stay alive for one reason alone. It's no longer relevant. People don't trust it. People don't like it. And when you have a product that people no longer like or need, then it disappears. It becomes a dead end. And that's where human beings are going, but slower than I would say gas cars. But let's look at this talking point really quick. A study is finding that 46% of employees took unauthorized time off due to burnout or mental health struggles. That's half of your employees. And I know this for a fact that it's more than that. These numbers are generous, but not generous enough. Is that unauthorized time off, you get to a point with a corporation where you just can't do anymore. And for me, since we came back from the winter break, since I came back from vacation, the pace at the corporation has been relentless. I'm talking about constant. Like my job is a very important job, right? I manage all 25 all 25 offices across a bunch of states. I manage everything that they need that involves technology. You need a cable, a clock, a microwave, you need whatever you need that's technology, it's going to come through one person. That's me. And that means that I'm bouncing around from call to call to call all day long because every single person that needs something, every time someone leaves the corporation or comes to the corporation, it's going to come to my desk. And that's a lot of stress for one guy. And the fact that the system managed to function somehow without me there during my last vacation was, I'm still trying to catch up. I'll tell you guys that much is that they had an entire department just in the past 10 days say that we don't want people working in the office. We're going to shut down the office and we're going to shift everyone to being remote, which is kind of strange because management for some positions said that everyone has to come back to the office, and others, well, they're more of catering towards online learning. So everyone goes home, shut down the office. But every single one of those people are going to be people that are going to have to interact with myself. And it just becomes overwhelming. And every single employee that I have had over the past few years has had unauthorized time off. In fact, one of my first Gen Zs thought it would be neat to continue clocking in while he was on vacation. As soon as HR found out, they stripped him of all of his vacation and sick time, everything for the year. And they took the rest of the money out of his future salaries, his future wages, excuse me. And he learned really quick, and they were watching him every day. HR from somewhere, from wherever HR is. I don't even know how HR works at my company because no one shows up at the corporate headquarters every day. But they were watching him. The second he missed a clock in on his time card, there was someone calling him asking him why he hadn't clocked in for lunch, for showing up, and for going home. Because they all have a nasty habit of trying to stay logged in when they're not at work. And I've seen all of them, including my current Gen Z. He does this every single day where he doesn't clock in from lunch or clock out for lunch. He stays logged into his phone. And no one's caught him yet, but eventually someone's going to notice that he's not where he's supposed to be while he's getting paid. And that's grounds for termination. That's not one of those, oh, we're just going to discipline you things. That's one of those, you don't work here anymore situations. So I've told him every time he tries to leave early, because as soon as 4 o'clock rolls around, Gen Z's stomping around the office that he wants to go home. And I'm like, you know, I say if you want to go home, there are 4 security cameras in the office. At any moment, his boss can log in and see why he's not sitting at his desk. And when they call him and he's in his car, that's it. You're done, man. They don't mess around with people who do those types of things. But how do I put this? Let's move on to my next talking point because I still have 4 of them and I'm running out of time already. So this is my favorite talking point that comes up when it comes to people who are quiet quitting, quiet vacationing, or quiet anything in the workplace. So when employers hire for a position, they're not taking into consideration Gen Z's constant need for work-life balance. Workplaces don't support mental health and don't offer sufficient PTO, and then they wonder why they have these morale problems, why they have resentment, why they have low productivity among a certain class of employee. And the answer is simple. The workplace is the very cause of poor mental health, regardless of the weekly company health newsletter. Work in and of itself is the cause of a lot of problems within our society because it is the reason why so many people aren't doing well. It's a toxic environment. Every day that I show up at my job and I'm sitting in my office dealing with a bunch of crap that I don't even know. Sometimes I ask myself this question. It's like, how is this my job? Moving things shouldn't be part of my job, but it is because they stick it under the additional task. And tasks as assigned is one of the most vile things that you can see in a job description because it means they can throw anything in there and you have to do it. It's not just your job. You can be doing the job of three, four, five other people, and if you complain about it, well, they're going to look at you and be like, well, why aren't you doing this? When I got called from my office to go to another office, and while I was at that other office to go to another office because there wasn't anyone there in order to meet the contractors, I was like, how is this my job? It was funny is that one of the people that works for what do they work for? They work for the department that handles oh my gosh, I, I'm drawing a complete blank because they handle so many things. They handle the company's growth, right? They handle the part of the company that oh gosh, I don't even know how to describe this. They're the people you call when you need to move something. They're the people that handle rooms, space for the offices. They handle every aspect of day-to-day operations for all of the offices. So when you need something, they're the ones that make arrangements with other companies. Like if you need something junked, or if you need to buy furniture, or if you need to allocate space, they're the people that do their facilities. That's what they are. They're facilities, but on a corporate level for all of the offices. And on Friday, she called me up and she says to me, hey, Millennial Stam, I just wanted to touch base with you. I haven't talked to you in a few days and I just wanted to talk to you. I was like, okay, that's nice. I mean, according to her little thumbnail of what she looks like, she's a pretty good looking lady. So I've never met her in real life, but she's always super nice. She's the reason why I have all new stuff in my office. In fact, when my boss walked in the other day, the first thing he did is like, "Wow, all your appliances in your office match," and I'm like, "Yep." You know why that is? Because I know people. That's why that is. And to him, he doesn't really. He's not a person that has like that I would ever imagine having a personal relationship with an employee. He's a person that if it doesn't have anything to do with his job, he doesn't even acknowledge that it exists. And he's tried to force that mentality onto me since I started working for him. That, oh, this isn't your job. Why are you doing this? It's like, you know, work sucks. He's told me several times that this job sucks. My last three senior managers have told me this job sucks. And they're like, well, we know the job sucks, but guess what? Somebody has to do it. And if you've lost five senior managers in 3 years because the job sucks, then they're well aware that the job sucks. And so you have horrible people that work there, and 25% of your check should be going to rent. But when you work in one of these places, it's not like that. In fact, I had to have this discussion with Gen Zero the other day. He's like, his rent is equivalent to mine, but he makes less than $20 an hour. So He's in a hard place. If it wasn't for his family sending money every single month in order to keep him indoors, he wouldn't have made it. And unfortunately, there's nowhere that he's going to go. His aptitude for work is extremely low. I mean, this is a person that could easily be working at McDonald's. And I'm not saying that against all Gen Zs. I'm just saying that all of my Gen Z workers since I started doing this job have all had very, very low aptitude. And that's really hard to explain to the senior manager or my boss is that they just can't do anything. They just don't care about work. And because you hired them at extremely low wages, you have to expect that. This is what I don't get from the corporations, from the management, from the heads of the corporation. If you hire someone for unlivable wages, you're going to get a person that's practically incompetent. You can keep them on. I mean, it's not like I haven't seen these people my whole life. The level of competency in the workplace, especially by younger workers that don't believe in working hard, is you're going to have bad behavior everywhere you go. Quiet vacations, quiet quitting, these are all things that are going to be very normal for low level positions. Now, do you think that an executive could ever do a quiet vacation? Absolutely not. They're too important. But a person who's working in a job in which there might be less supervision, and let's say they're on vacation, or excuse me, that they're working remote that day, and you call them up and they're quiet vacationing, and you ask them to be in a certain place at a certain time. That's where they get caught. But until that exact scenario happens, they're going to be more than happy to quiet vacation. All of my workers have slept on the job. Every single Gen Z that I've had believes it's okay to sleep in the office. Not as bad as my last one that slept up to 4 hours a day, oftentimes all day. But that's just the way that they think. I mean, a lot of these younger people are coming into the office thinking that work it isn't serious, right? That's something that I've had to instill into all of my workers is that they're not. And again, I'm saying this about Gen Z because I've seen this in my experience with Gen Z, but they're not there to work. They're there to collect a paycheck, and every way that they can find in order to best the system, they're going to do because who cares? These people aren't concerned with losing their jobs. If they lose their jobs, they go home and to their parents' house, or they just call their parents and ask them for money. What they really want is Gen Z out of the workplace and get people like me. More desperation workers, people that absolutely have to work. No matter how bad you treat a desperation worker, they're going to keep showing up. Sure, they're not going to give you 100%. There's going to be some resentment there because they are desperation workers and they're not making enough to live off. But at least with desperation workers, they're coming to work because they need food. Gen Z is coming to work just for the paycheck. They don't care what happens. My Gen Z's done some boneheaded things to say the very least. But guess what? If they fire them, we're just going to get a clone of that person because that's what all of my Gen Zs have been since I started working there. They're a clone of one another, and each one of them has progressively been worse than the last one. I don't know how that's possible, but it's just been my experience. So, uh, can we fix this problem? Absolutely not. The um, the resentment for the corporation for the workers that they have to hire at these low wages, their disdain for workers is very apparent. They want to offer less vacation, less paid time off, less sick time, less benefits. They want to offer the bare minimum job. And then they always act shocked when they get the bare minimum employ. And that's what I've seen, the bare minimum in every one of these people. And again, I can't blame them. If you offer them nothing and then expect the world from them, you're going to be disappointed every single time. And that's something that my former boss, when I worked at Kroger's, she just didn't understand. Like, she's like, I hired them and then they turn out to be bad workers. You hired them at the minimum wage. What do you think you're going to get when you're paying rock bottom wages?